Welcome to Cooking More with Less. My name is Celina Cordoba and I just want to thank everyone who has not only watched the past videos that I did, but that has just emailed me and written and just been real supportive and asking like, yo, what's up, sis? When you gonna come back with some videos? And to be honest, when I started Cooking More with Less, it was when Amor was like 2 or 3 years old, and he's 11 now, right? So the last 4 years, I just took off just to really regroup and to think about my future, the things that I wanted to do and be able to offer consistently. But also, to be honest, Cooking More with Less was literally that. Cooking more vegetarian, vegan foods, sharing whatever it is I could consistently. And after like 55, 60 videos, I think that I was in a space emotionally, not I think, I know I was in a space emotionally where I was like, you know, I didn't start this to make money and to brand myself. And that might be what made it and kept it really authentic. But, you know, I was a lot younger and I just, boom, wherever I was at, I wanted to flip my reality and be able to produce whatever amazingness in whatever environment. And that's, you hear it? That's what Cooking More with Less and how it kind of started. I was like, yo, no matter what or where, there is always positivity in everything that we do. And instead of looking at my glass as half empty, I wanted to always look at it as half full. So, you know, after a couple years of doing it, it takes time. And I wanted to be honest with myself and looking in my environment and saying, you know, I like to see a better kitchen in my life. I like to see more abundance because this is how I feel. I feel abundant. I feel prosperous. But if your environment consistently doesn't reflect that, you start to take steps back and say, okay, you know, what can I refine? What can I retune? What can I give more? What can I preserve, right? So for me, preservation was key. And the last couple of environments, you know, the little hurricanes in Miami, the little floods, I'm not going to say my credit was in the 800s, which it is now. And it took a while. It took a couple of years for me to just be like, yo, I don't want to step and speak of transmuting and speak of prosperity and speak of abundance if I can't see that reflected in my own environment. So it's not to say like, yo, bum status don't mean nothing, but when you do that for about, what, like 10 plus years, 15 years, the last 4 years, I was really in a space of wanting to not only consistently be honest, but see personal growth in my own environment. So taking a little time off was really a very learned experience in terms of feeling like I wanted to share and do. But you know what? If I'm doing all that and sharing, what is it that I have that's kind of unique that can bring abundance and wealth into my life? You know, sharing food recipes is way different than sharing, like, let's say a hair recipe or a body recipe. And when I started Cordova Organics, you know, just being out here dolo with one support system, you know, I'm grateful now because that one support system can be like people's, you know, 10 or 15. And we didn't have that. We never did. And that's kind of why we came to Miami years ago in the first place. And then for me, the last 4 or 5 years, I really took time to live on my own and to be in environments that not only challenged but allowed me to appreciate what it is I was doing in my life and really refocusing and being on some, yo, if I love these products and I like what I do, you know, be mindful. Don't necessarily feel as though you have to give and share how you create these recipes. You know, a recipe for food and a recipe on how you concoct like jambalaya is way different than, you know, a lemon pomegranate body bomb. You know, I can definitely tell you what's in it, but how in which it's made and how the timing and the cooling and all of these things was a unique system that I took so much time to develop and to really make my own. So in that, I didn't want to constantly feel as though I had to share the process when I needed to produce enough so that I can be in a space where I could say, okay, how do I now integrate all the things that got me here, you know? So I'm just very humbled and grateful. I have not had a kitchen that has ever had a dishwasher, and you know, my microwave is throwing my pots and hands. But you know, I'm very, very blessed because last 8 months, I literally caught like a mouse a week in the environment that I was in. You know, I had to take him more to New York. You know, he's homeschooled for like what, 8, 9 years. And in that, like the 10th year, I was like, yo, for real, in order for him to appreciate what I'm doing, I got to take him to an environment that's really integrated, that's really going to challenge him, and in which he's not going to be like the only Moor amongst just a whole bunch of Latinos and a whole bunch of Mexicanos and a whole bunch of Argentinians and Venezuelans. Like, shout out to Central America, but you know, when you're from Brooklyn and you are Panamanian, West Indian, whatever, culture is just, we don't really think and separate like that. You know what I'm saying? So out here it's a little different unless you totally on the other side. And even that, you know, I'm not Haitian, I'm not Jamaican, I'm from Brooklyn. So when you're from Brooklyn, the vibe is a little different, you know what I'm saying? And I culturally, even though put them in like gymnastics and swimming, school was a whole different gamut. I checked a lot out and I was like, nah. So taking them to Brooklyn, you know, in the dead of winter, it was something I had to do myself because, you know, if we got to keep up finance and someone is really, really blessed and being needed by the community, you know, it's not something that I necessarily wanted to stress or strain his father about. So, you know, after 15 years, it's like, yo, take some time and be out so that this one can grow, so that you can grow, and so that he can grow, and so that he can give himself time to also appreciate, you know, being away from Miami and the beach and the pool and all of these things that, you know what I'm saying, if you hear from like the age of 1, you just like, you know, I don't feel like going outside. And I started seeing a little bit too much of that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this offer at this dope charter school. And we're going to make it happen. And we did, you know, but in that it took a lot of energy to just, you know, get him at school at 7:30, all that good stuff. So I say all that to say 8 months of that. And I thought I wanted to cook in the environment, but literally it was so run down, son. I was like, I don't want people seeing, you know, maybe a random roach crawling across the the ceiling. It was just, you know, just produce in your environment, literally like hazmated down. I would be in like one little room, just all day long. And, you know, I'm grateful because I saved and I really was dolo, son. And I'll talk about all that other stuff later. But what I wanted to talk about, mad people talk about cooking. My fridge is right here, but I thought this was the best scope. Or more sleep, you know what I'm saying? This was even a journey because I was like, yo, I got to figure out how to incorporate what I do. But all day from like 7:30 in the morning till 4, I'm just blending butters and making products. That's my day. Yes, I'm drinking smoothies. I'm making Amor his lunch, all of that. But I literally cook at night, or I cook like right in the afternoon after a little workout. I'll make a couple things and bing, put it in. But in order for this and for me to be in a space where I feel like, yo, I can share, I wanted to get certain ducks in order. I really did. What? Oh, let me find out what he was chewing. My rabbit, Tupac. Leave that alone. Leave that alone. Leave it. Leave it. Okay, Tupac and Biggie was bugging. My rabbits was trying to, okay. Anyway, so, you know, I really wanted to say, yo, I gotta share more. Like, now you can incorporate it, even if you gotta do it at nighttime. And let me tell you, at nighttime, I like just resting, answering emails, being able to draw a bath, being able to clean up, being able to get, you know, so I be zoned out, like in my zone, and then it's like, oh, it's 2 o'clock tomorrow. And for real, like yesterday, real talk, I just made a lasagna, and after I, you know, finished work, I'm like, I gotta eat, right? So I made this lasagna, and as I'm making it, I'm like, I made it with them more, and I'm like, I could be taping, and I said, yeah, but I also really enjoyed the time off in terms of just appreciating my life, appreciating being able to bend my knees and, you know, still bend from side to side at 42 next month. But all of this is to say, you know, how do you do this every day if the background is not in order? You know, your house looks like you're in shambles. You know, your kids aren't being fed consistently. Like, people really be using this and trying to be on some brand in themselves when there is no brand to brand. Like, yeah, no doubt people like seeing you every day, but how is your life outside and off camera? You know what I'm saying? And I started realizing that mine was so abundant and so great, but in order to see certain prosperity, I had to really take time to do something that not only I could do that was productive, but I could still be at home with my son and teach him how to read and, you know, math and all of that, so that when he went to school, he wasn't on some, you know, dumb, deaf, and blind. You know, I'm grateful because he did great. And that was like, word, you know, the stuff I'm teaching him is working, but also he's learning to value stuff that I don't think that just me and taking him to a couple of activities was going to accomplish. And I wanted to be honest about that with myself. And, you know, when certain energy is fixed, you have to also remain mutable and say, well, it's your job to open the windows and let air in and all of this. So my fridge, let me tell you, matter of fact, I am going to try to just show it and then tilt it back. That's my fridge, right? You see that basket right there on the first shelf? That basket has just vegetables in it. I keep my vegetables in a dry basket only because it's what I fill in the beginning of the week. And yeah, that's good. It's what I fill in the beginning of the week. And then I know, okay, this is what I need to cook. This is what I need to think. And I don't like my vegetables in those little drawers on the bottom, unless y'all got some other fridge. I'm in the best space that I can pay for, you know. So this is like the spinach. I just used a half a bag. It was a huge bag. Again, all vegetarian, all vegan. I do eat fish. I make fish like once a week. I make fish for Amor. I make fish for the boy. Fish is important because let me tell you, after you breastfeed, I didn't become anemic during the 2 years that I did. I ate fish towards like a year after I, you know, breastfed, like maybe like 9 months into breastfeeding. I started incorporating fish again in my diet. But the first year, as well as through my whole pregnancy, I didn't eat any heavy dairy. I did do a little bit of like egg whites once in a while just to keep my body on some, God forbid, you know, once he's born, I want him to be able to digest everything except, of course, flesh. If I haven't eaten meat in 25 plus years, then I'm not going to just eat meat just to be like, let me eat meat and make sure my son is strong. Like, that's all fallacy, okay? You can totally be healthy and have healthy kids. They won't be hormoned up. They're not going to be T-zoned up, but they're going to be healthy and they're not going to get sick. And I can definitely say that Amor is a testament to that. So all this little basket, all right, I took some stuff out. This basket is what has my vegetables, my root stuff, and I got some pineapple on the top that I cut. So what I'm gonna do real quick is continue to just be honest about the journey and use times like this. Like, I realize, yo, I like cooking and all of that, but as I bust down certain recipes, I could talk about mad other stuff that I've just been blessed to learn, not in a head-banging, hurtful, you know, way. It's just sometimes, you know, when, at least in my situation, I think, you know, I've talked about it, but to be honest, I think also taking time and just realize I didn't want to necessarily attract a lot of energy that was just coming from that, you know, trauma victimization standpoint. And it's no problems with all of that. But for me, having gone through certain stuff and just, you know, built with people about, you know, how to not be depressed and how to get over little things, I think that there's a balance in between healing, but also realizing that you might be attracting people that really aren't well. And it's not, you know, of course, it's not your job, it's not your duty, but, you know, if we're here to help and share and serve, then you don't wish for what you attract. You just take what comes and you try to, refine and, help people shed and all that good stuff. So I say all that to say, I wanted to take some time and be like, for real, my life has been so abundant and prosperous, but the trauma that I experienced, I think I really utilize those moments to just say, not woe is me, but this has to be happening for a greater reason. Anybody born on the equinox will know that you either shut lights down, turn lights on. Things are very, very fickle when you're born right on the equinox. And, if you happen to share any other energy with someone else who's born on the equinox, it can be, there was moments that I thought that I wasn't good luck, or we were blocking each other's blessings, because if you're so abundant in thought and, all of this, then how are less family members socializing, how are less people in all of these little details. And I'm grateful that I took a little time to step back and say, regardless of this, that, and the third, these things would still be manifesting because I put it in real motion. I was like, all right, first day in Brooklyn, get off the plane, moving truck comes, have it all scheduled and planned, yada, yada, yada. And certain things happen that were so crazy. For example, we got locked out the door, and we didn't have the key. The landlord wasn't there. He didn't give us the key, all that. So long story short, I'm there with the movers in the truck, and the first door I get open, but the second door is not, right? I had the first door key from like years ago. Second door key didn't work. So he knew I was there, rang the door, all that. Nobody answering. So I'm outside the movers trucks for like 20 minutes. The movers getting mad tight, right? I'm like, I'm so sorry. I know he's home. He's probably in the shop. I'm just making shit up. And, a brother comes downstairs, opens the door, and I'm like, oh! He slams the door, and it's like, yo, I don't know you. Straight up, I'm just myself with my kid and a huge moving truck. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I was banging on the door just because I hope. He's like, well, if you know him, then call him. I was like, I did. I have called him. I'm sorry, I'm Celina. I'm moving into the building. I'm moving in the basement, no disrespect on banging on the door, because he was mad, like, yo, what you banging on the door for? Like, son, my moving truck is here. No one's answering the door. It's been 25 minutes. I'm paying for them. All of this. Instead of saying all that, I was like, I'm sorry, being mad chill, because, he's mad. Who's banging on the door? So I was like, he's like, well, if you know him, then you're just going to have to fucking wait. I'm not letting you in. He starts cussing. He gets mad. Kinks. I'm like, whoa. So as he's doing this, he's like, getting a little. So I step back. I'm with my son. I step back. I said, I'm sorry, movers. I didn't mean. It's Brooklyn. I took a breath, rested my hand against a brick wall, and was like, this nigga is really screaming on me. And I'm 100, like, my nigga. And it was like one point that I was like, yo, for real, this is so hilarious. If I was with someone or with a seer, this would still be happening. It might be on a different volume, but this is going on whether you're by yourself or you're with someone. Niggas is just wilding. That's what they do with you. So, I let him wild out. I waited another 10 minutes. The brother comes downstairs with his bathrobe on. Oh, I just jumped in the bath. I was like, you just heard me. You know what? Thank you for opening the door. I'm mad chill right now, because now the other guy's trying to tell him how flagrant I'm being. Son, I was like, I wasn't being flagrant. I banged. The movers are like, no. She wasn't saying nothing. She banged the door and no one came, and all of this, right? So I'm like, all right, son, this nigga's really. So I kept it simple, because again, I'm moving into this basement by myself with my kid, and I don't want no problems. I don't want nobody beefing. I don't want no fucking problems. And I felt like from day one, it was just on and popping. And I said, you know what? It's not. Let it go. But let me tell you, from that day on, this dude just had it in for me. He just really had it in for me. So I say all that to say, I can't control people. I can only control my reactions. And it was an eye-opener because I was like, yo, even in going across the states and being in a totally isolated environment, I'm still in spots where cats, whenever they can, they might just be. And I was like, and there's nothing, so many people, oh, when you're emitting positivity. Son, yes, that's true to a degree, but you also have to look at the environment that you're in. Certain environments, no matter how much positivity you emit, are going to sometimes retract or refract negative, based on maybe you just being that shining being amongst a whole bunch of cobwebs. You know what happens when you turn on lights at nighttime? Shit flies to it, it gets zapped, but it still comes to the light. So at the end of the day, I went through so many little incidents like that were just like, wow, and it just really had me quiet, because I'm 100 pounds. Niggas is they just might. Do you understand? So I take it easy. It's 11:30 at night, and I'm putting 2 pieces of lasagna in the oven to warm, because I probably won't go to bed till like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And that's the way it is. All right, we're putting that on 360. While we do that, I'm gonna keep it moving. And I say that stuff to say, I don't know if people, I say that a lot. I've noticed that. I think that's because when I break stuff down a little more, he's like, well, why? And I'm like, well, I'm saying this to explain, and I'm telling him why. But I'm just putting the last 2 pieces in some foil, and I'll put it in a plastic bag in a second. So I don't think it's the last piece on the top. So just let it rest there while I finish talking. And that's another thing. I never had counter space to just let something rest someplace. So I've really been ODing on the little dishes and the things that I can make in here, because I've never had like sweet potato section, cauliflower section. I've never, and I'm 42, so I'm 41, but I'll be, kick it up a year, because I'll be 42 in a couple days. So, inshallah, I will be 42 in a couple days. So this, all right, a little bit of pineapples. I basically buy about 10 fruits and vegetables a week. My celery, I have a whole bunch of like malanga down here, some yuca, some sweet potatoes, which I'm gonna take out. I'm just gonna cut these up tonight and roast them in one of these casserole dishes real quick. Get all my sweet potatoes out for tomorrow. Same thing with this cauliflower. I have a little cauliflower, so I'm gonna roast that up. So roast that just for tomorrow. Amor's gonna bust all this cauliflower down with some sweet potatoes for lunch. And then because I did make this lasagna last night, he had some for dinner last night and tonight. Did not complain at all. Asked for seconds. I was like, okay, you swam like what, 400 laps? You definitely get more lasagna. And this lasagna, again, half a spinach, a little bit of eggplant sauce. I made, fried up the eggplant on the bottom and some olive oil and garlic and a little bit of red onion. And then I added some tomato sauce, stewed that for like 40 minutes. And then on a separate pan, I steamed through the spinach and seasoned that. A lot of people steam their spinach plain. Season it, a little bit of salt, olive oil, pepper, and then this going in the fridge. And you know what? I have these bags and stuff, these freezer bags, like these cuties, but I'm just gonna keep it in here for now and then transfer it later. So, he bust that down so quickly, and I was grateful, because that's exactly why I cook in large amounts, because then I can feed him dinner as soon as he gets home from swim class and all that good stuff. So I'm just gonna bust these down. I have just a small casserole dish, if you guys could see. Again, not becoming anemic, eating a lot of vegetables. You don't have to do a whole bunch of cruciferous. That's the word. I go into that voice because that's how I hear it. You don't have to have a whole bunch of cruciferous vegetables. You can do a lot more like root stuff, make some soups. I try to do 1 soup a week. A lot of casserole dishes. Sometimes a shepherd's pie. I've made so many vegan and vegetarian dishes that there's a plethora you can find on Cooking More with Less. But you like that? But when you're not doing something every day, people tend to forget. And I'm grateful that people have not. That said a lot to me, and it's inspiring because I'm like, word, when I'm in a space where I feel like how I feel can be somewhat matched or reflected in the environment that I am in, then I will begin again. I am not 25. I do not live with my mommy. I've been on my own since I was 19. There is no mother, there is no father, there is nothing to fall back and to go, I need this cup of soup and tea. I'm tired and weak. Nothing. So that makes you really resilient, and you don't rely on anybody. You end up becoming the mommy, the grandma, the auntie, and that's what gratefully I stepped into with a little bit of like, rah rah, and you go so full throttle and taking care, and then you're like, wait a minute, where's my credit? Yes, I paid my student loans. Okay, how are my joints? Am I really, you understand? And I needed to take some time, like I said. So now that I am back, baby, we're gonna cut these sweet potatoes. A lot of people shave them down. I'm not going to. I actually rinsed them off already because I rinsed them before I put them in the fridge, just because when I'm cooking and stuff, I don't have to do all of this stuff, but I didn't do those. I'm just doing it to show you I'm not some dirty chick that's just cutting sweet potatoes out of the soil, out of the roots. So that's one step. And then this cauliflower, again, chuck with vitamin C and D. You want to feed your kids like not like a couple of stalks. Throw the whole cauliflower in the oven as well as a whole broccoli. Amor did like a whole broccoli yesterday. Do a whole broccoli, a whole cauliflower. Then I don't steam my vegetables through sometimes, pan, saute or whatever. But I really try to just grill them because they maintain a lot of nutrients in the oven, and they become a little soft and tender, and you have a little bit more options. You can add them to stuff and all that good stuff. So I'm just cutting the cauliflower in a couple pieces, and I'm just gonna roast this in on top of a little bit of I'll show you on top of this glass casserole dish, and a little olive oil, salt, pepper, just for flavor, and keep it simple. But again, tomorrow at lunchtime when he's hungry, I can give him a little bit of this with some sweet potatoes. I know that he's getting all the nutrients he needs for swim class, plus I can have a little bit, and that's kind of how I keep things just moving. And another thing I noticed is I think people really need to appreciate taking time to do things they love without it always being public domain. I love cooking. I love it, but I love the silence. I love listening to music, and I love that process as well. So to just find the balance, you know what I'm saying, and sometimes being like, you know what, I really want to cook this in silence and not have to do that, It creates really good emotional balance for yourself. So I'm just throwing the cauliflower pieces in a little colander. I didn't wash this because it was in plastic. I know I didn't. And so I'm going to rinse this off and spray it. And as you think of what you want to cook, sometimes like when I cook stuff that's just roasted, then I add it to other dishes. I said that, but like quinoa, really sometimes I'll roast the whole pan and then just like smash the vegetables and put a little smashed sweet potato. Just make a quick shepherd's pie. You know what I'm saying? Broil that, put that in the oven. And keep it simple. So when you have been with the energy that I've been blessed to be around, I think that sometimes you could take certain moments for granted. I met my son's father. I met a seer when I was 21, and I lost my virginity to him when I was 22. And I've only been with one other person in my life. And I think that taking the last 5 years to not only be celibate, but to really just say, look, maybe I am holding you back. Let's take time. I'm not feeling certain stuff. Certain things aren't matching up to our reality. There's certain consistent, abuse from certain sides of his family and the moms and the, you know, and it was after 15 years, it's like, maybe I'm deluding myself. Like, am I in the right? All of that. And let me tell you, taking the years that I took, not only, you know, I said, look, I definitely know I could lose everything. I could lose him, I could lose this, I could lose that, but I could also gain perspective and gain knowledge, and not going out there and knowing that I was gonna be, you know, with mad people and be attracted to mad, you know, dudes. It just put me in a space of just really appreciating the choices that I made in my life and not feeling like I missed out on anything. You know, going out and seeing the same certain energy and just being so grateful that I didn't do stuff, not only because I didn't feel to, but you know, I always felt like, well, if I feel some grand attraction, and of course you communicate, you think about stuff, all of it. And you know, in the 15 years, I only experienced one moment of, I know I shouldn't be doing this, and this is where my energy should be, and this is how it needs to be. Because, you know, your dream state can be dictating certain things, you know, certain realities and certain experiences can put you in a state of just feeling as though you're not good for someone, you know, or all of these people want to be so in this space that you occupy. And I'm talking like, I don't really get that much, you know, energy, and I won't say that. It's a totally different experience when you feel like men that are around you that are very heterosexual, you know, are very envious and jealous of you spending time with your loved one, with your mate. You know, and the work that Asir does, I've met a lot of men that are so emotionally, you know, off balance. But, you know, the love is different. Love is different than stalker energy or showing us up at someone's crib and just expect, you understand? And to deal with all that for years, I'm very grateful that Asir just created certain boundaries in his own reality, but that took time to figure out how to do without hurting or making people, you know, all of these things. And then you're like, wow, people feel, I need to sleep, you understand? So again, a balance. And that was happening to me a lot, just a lot of energy and a lot of hateration from dudes. So, you know, I didn't want to deal with it. Like, yo, son, you want to be here? You want to eat so bad? You know what? And I really kept it moving in a lot of different ways. And in doing so, I think that brought a lot of clarity to the table. And people saw certain things and realized, yo, I see what you were saying, you know, but you can't sometimes tell someone and knock them on the head when they're really not even doing anything to bring this energy out in someone. It's just what's happening, you know, but you still got to be responsible. So just a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to do some salt and some pepper. And the oven's already on 360, so it's going to be easy to just roast this. And I'm going to keep them uncovered because I like my cauliflower a little crunchy. I'm not adding any like heavy seasonings, just some salt and some pepper. Makes it really, really nice actually. And then, you know what? I'm going to do like a little dash of Mrs. Dash. A little dash of Mrs. Dash. That could have totally been a commercial. A little dash of Mrs. Dash. Doing that. I'm just adding a little bit more olive oil on top. I like them a little moist. A little moist. So I'm just going to throw those in. What I am going to do, I'm not even going to front. I cover it for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I uncover it. Just so they get a little tender, and then the last couple minutes, they kind of get a little charish on top. So I like a little combo so that it's not so crunchy and hard. Still bites in a little tender, but retain the flavor in there. Let them sweat it out. And then I just pull the aluminum off and let it go to work. All right. That's one thing. Now I'm just gonna clean this up because I have the opportunity to. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut up the sweet potato. And the sweet potato is easy. Again, I could have showed the whole lasagna process last night, but I do have a lasagna recipe on there for you to peek into. Oh, look at how pretty that is. It's such a bright orange, right? All that beta carotene is so good for your skin. And again, keep the skin on. It's so weird. I'm always like, keep the skin on for your skin. The skin on vegetables, it's almost symbolic to your skin. And there's so many nutrients held in the base of so much, like the stems and stuff, as well as just, you know, the whole sweet potato. So I'm just gonna cut these up and add them to this casserole dish that actually has a nice little top. I like it to marinate. I'm gonna just add some simple cinnamon and some nutmeg, and I'm gonna add a dash of water. I ran out of apple juice this morning in my smoothie. I used some apple cider in the base of it, and I know I don't have any more. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of water, just like 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, to keep them a little moist and to let them steam through. I like my sweet potatoes really soft. And then I'm gonna add a dash of maple syrup on top, just to caramelize them and get them a little sticky. But you know, I don't really need the brown sugar, it's not that deep. Sometimes the brown sugar, I think it kind of destroys the natural flavor of the sweet potato. So we're not gonna do that. And I love these counters because they're marble. I don't have to have a cutting board. I can just cut straight through. And mind you, this was not the space that I was totally like in love with. But it had the most square footage. And after getting, you know, looking at a lot of stuff, and mind you, I'm in a Brooklyn basement, looking at apartments and talking to people, you know, here in Miami. And it was a long process. I must have gotten like 8 rejections before I got one serious exception. And then I got another exception. So I had the option of 2 different spots. And the other spot, I loved like all the details, and it was really modern and beautiful, but it didn't have as much square footage. And the second bedroom was a little bit smaller, little stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I could take this spot, and I got this spot, and it's bigger. I'm all for more space, regardless of it being more modern. I thought that a less modern space with more space was the way to go. So God blessed me with this, and I was grateful, very, very grateful to be in a space where we could all occupy again. And again, after taking 4 years, 5 years, to just live on my own and remove myself from environments that I can not blame someone for, or not blame myself, or blame, you know, my sons, oh, you know, where is this and how did this get missed? You know, I need to save that. And also just emotionally not expire, not dry out. If it's meant to be, then God will have us come together, and I'll have the emotional sustenance and feel what I'm, you know, that charge, or feel this energy that allows me to, or allows anyone to be honest and consistent in a physical relationship as well. I see a lot of couples right when they get to that space of like, you know, realizing certain things, they either go full throttle, you know, have another kid, this, that, the third, or just replace, you know, and be out there in yonder. Like, real talk, 15 years with one person, like, ain't nobody gonna really, you know, want to follow up with that act. And then when they do, based on where my emotional state is and where it, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be hard to feel like they're the main subject if something else is in the background, and rightfully so, you know. And then I'm not really, no shade on women that date, you know, like 42. I've met a lot of women that date 25-year-olds, 20. Yo, real talk, I attract mostly 22, 23, 24-year-old men, but that's what I attract. That's not what I am attracted to. So, you know, you end up pulling back and being like, this is a 25-year-old. Like, I'm 42. Like, I could have had this kid when I was 8. It's not something that I personally could wrap my mind around. And even if you've traveled the world and are worldly and are, you know, are so much more experienced in culture, you're 25, I'm 42. Like, nah, I mean, it's just not for me. So, you know, even though the things that come, it's like, you know, it's sweet, thanks, but, you know, you don't deserve that. You deserve somebody that's going to be able to give you 3 and 4 kids. You know, all of this stuff is real talk. So at the end of the day, I just took time to be with myself because that's what God presented me. I always said if I met somebody and it would have been on and popping. I'd have been able to build and have a little love and, you know, have an experience that I felt connected to. But if you don't feel a connection and there is nobody to connect and there isn't that charge, then you don't just make it up. And at least I don't. I didn't want to just create just experiences, a little bit of nutmeg, some cinnamon, experiences with somebody that deserves much more, or that I would just be using them for physical, you know, pleasure, straight up. Like, it's not life. That's not right, B. That's not how I'm built. So, you know, taking time, it was not something that was easy, but I'm very grateful that I did, because to be present is something that we're all owed, not only for the person that we share energy with, but for yourself, to be fully present. And if you're not, I advise people, or anyone, just to take time off. And, you know, you can hit or miss. You know, I was like, this person could be with 50 people in the last 5 years. You know, some dudes is attractive and wise and intelligent, and they can be with 10 chicks a week if they felt to, you know what I'm saying? But based on what I selected at 21, I'm just very grateful that, you know, certain things, regardless of what I went through in the beginning of our relationship, the last couple years, I'm really grateful when I was like, watch what happens, watch, these bitches is bitches. You know, yeah, they there, you know what I'm saying? I know women are, but that's what women are. I'm not a woman who's ever been attracted to somebody that's in a relationship, or that has, you know, a wife or a husband, you know, whatever, has a husband. I've never been into a guy that is married to a woman. Or that is dating a female, or that's with another woman. You know, it's just the best feeling, because there isn't any temptation. You're not like, you know, I might have a slip up. It's just some moral code in me that just, as soon as I'm like, oh, he's with the, I'm not gonna feel anything. Like, it's a celebration sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And for me, I always am very baffled when women know certain females, men, and they're just, you know, overtly flirtatious and just doing things and texting 80 times a day, and they're just way too much. But that, if that's what you want to do and that's how you want to keep hitting your head against the wall, then good luck with it, you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, and that's something else, the work that my son's father carries and does, you know, to be responsible enough to say, yo, I'm never going to cross certain lines with females, because once you do, you cross them. Once that commitment is made, somebody might feel a way and want to, and that's where females and males can be a little, you know, unaware and off balance. And there are emotional needs that sometimes I think both parties, both females and males have. But to be honest about what you're looking for, what you hope to have, is very difficult, because some guys are just like, look, if, you know, we smash and it don't feel right, then we ain't smashing again. And, you know, a girl could be building with a guy for years, and then that experience happened, and then it's like, oh, yeah, and then when you standing, you switch it up in a minute. So when you have somebody that consistently wants to build energy with you, that's a very big blessing, because people are so fickle and so like, it ain't feel right, you know, pussy, I'm out. And you're like, but we've been talking for 5-7 years, and we find, or, you know, you haven't. You just met this nigga and you smashed and shit was whack, but now, again, you left with that spiritual imprint, you left with that energy, and it is that. It is a spiritual imprint. It is a commitment in that realm that I don't think people understand the magnitude of. But again, we're not here to deter or make people feel as though the choices they make are wrong in this society anymore, or that there is any moral code or any responsibility for the choices we make. just some cinnamon. And that's what it's become. But in your own home, you know, what values are you imparting to your children? What values are you keeping up for yourself? You know, being honest equates to so much, but you know, your emotional body, things that you are honest about with your mate. I've met so many women during the last couple years that are literally so dishonest with their mates and themselves about the numbers of partners they encounter, about who they're with. Like, it just because you're only with a nigga once doesn't mean that that encounter didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Or just because, you know, it didn't work out. Like, people make up a whole bunch of stuff to just, I was gonna say fuckery, but I be on some real trying to curb my mouth. And then my son's like, why? I don't curse. And I'm like, you don't, and that's what I love about you, but I'm still trying to be aware, because I have the vocabulary, tenacity, and dexterity. I just, I love an explicative every now and then. I think it's beautiful. It's like hot pink on a canvas. Anyway, all of that's to say, you know, people live by whatever standards they want to live by. I just, I noticed that a lot of people that do and are dishonest start to really age in different ways, and, you know, thought manifests action in terms of body. So if you want to be healthy, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have depressed thoughts. It's just not okay to stay in certain states. And I don't think that we're really honest with ourselves or allow ourselves to be, you know, if you are sad or you're going through moments of sadness, allow yourself to really be there until you're not. It's just some people nowadays, you know, it's like this masochistic, and then it applauds that exact energy, and you consistently find yourself. That's not, you know, unfortunately, that's not healthy, and some people might need help outside of just being aware that that's what happens. Chemical imbalances are very real, and you know, you have to look for signs in people that you know. Help your loved ones out. Let them know if they're, you know, the signs of imbalance, and gratefully so. I think in being honest, you know, I don't know. I had a therapist tell me this once, and she's amazing. But she said to me, being honest is like serum for everything, and it's not to say that you get away with shit, but you're honest with yourself and with the people around you. So whoever entertains or interacts with that energy, that's on them, because you've been honest. And honesty is interesting now, because how people translate it is almost like, well, you know, if I'm saying I'm being dishonest, then you know I'm not telling you the truth, and that's not the same thing. It's almost a way out for a lot of people. You don't want to use that as an excuse to be like, well, I told her, you know, I will tell her everything. So because I told her that, then, you know, shorty should definitely know, you know, I don't tell her everything. So what does that mean? And it's for you to just be able to say, okay, that communication means that he's being honest about not wanting to tell me about everything. And that's fine. But it's not when it comes to physicality, sexual partners, emotional responsibility, things like that. Some men actually are really into women just being attracted to them. So if a guy knows that you're not the type of woman to be attracted to them, if they're attracted to another woman or talking to someone or exchanging intimate energy. When you exchange intimate energy with another woman, I think that it is so important not to tell details, but just to be like, you know, I'm smashing this shorty, she's banging, you know, yo, for real. Because then whatever female you're talking to, the check naturally takes place. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, word, he put me on. Let me. And some guys will just be like, it's not your business. You don't need to know nothing. You don't need to know nothing. And that's true as well. If that's something that they want to control, that's up to them to be able to do. But you have to make the decision and say, you know what? I don't know if he's intimate with somebody and there's an attraction there. So I'm going to pull back. I'm going to not do this, that, and the third. I'm not going to flirt, because if there is, I don't want my energy to be on the sidelines or to be, you know, chaos when there's something else going on. That's not cool. What if I'm like the Energizer Buddy, you know, charging a nigga up, and then you know, you can just splash off and be with whoever you want to be because you got that charge and that attention and that love and that care from that consistent thing. But then, yeah, I let her know I'm not really, you know what I'm saying? So girls, be very careful of stuff like that as well, because that's honest. It's just not honest in the way of like writing it on a black wall with a dry erase marker, putting this in the oven. So we got the cauliflower going. 2 is enough. I'm gonna probably shave this down and make sweet potato like hash browns. Omar really likes them, really likes them. And I didn't think that he would. And I discovered that by running out of, you know, golden potatoes, because he loves a hash brown. So I just shave the hash browns and freeze them and put them in the oven the same way you could buy them, but they don't have all the dehydratable stuff in them. And just fry them in a little frying pan. I'll show you the frying pan I use for my hash browns. I love this frying pan. And again, I don't even clean some of my frying pans. I just wipe out to keep all the goodness at the bottom. But this is exactly where I lay his hash browns in, and then it's like an individual serving. Really tasty with some pancakes. But I'm more be eating, okay? I got a growing young man, which is wonderful. So I'm very blessed to be able to be in this new space and to be able to share some stuff that I think is missing in a lot of stuff that I've, you know, taken time to not even look at anymore. Like, you know what, I used to support this and watch this, and well, I can't watch TV. I can't, I'm talking about like VH1 shows and, you know, FX shows and stuff. It's not that entertaining to me anymore. So just taking time to read and to really expand Cordova Organics. By the way, thank you to all those that have supported it. It's allowed me to get to where I'm at today. And it literally took a while. You know, when you're not have no investing, you're not making cake like that, everything that you make goes back into your business. So it wasn't a good like 2 years that I didn't even really see funds start to accrue or anything in my life. And I think that that can play a little mental game with yourself, but you got right there when that happens, you got to be like, nah, push forward, push through. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the results that I'm seeing in other people's lives, and I'm grateful. So I'm not even one to, you know, the other day this girl wrote me and she's like, oh my God, you called me personally, like I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. And I was like, I was so humbled, and I called that girl and was like, you have no idea what that means to me, because, you know, I got followers and all that. I might know maybe 20 people in my real life, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that I'm not grateful and I don't consistently do certain things to share what it is that we all offer each other. But honestly, it's so humbling when someone expresses something like that, because literally I am so dolo and go everywhere dolo if I'm not in a space where I can be, you know, with my family and stuff. I'm always by myself. And, you know, a lot of people there's a lot of misconceptions about people with larger or with a following. Just because you have a following does not mean that you know anybody personally or, you know, socially like that. And it sometimes can negate people from really wanting to be in your life, because like, oh, this bitch, she thinks she won't. And it's like, actually, no, you end up being more humble. You end up just being, I don't even give people my social media page, and then that becomes a thing. And then when I do, you know, I have to be honest and being like, I don't really look at it until this hour, or I don't really do stuff, because emotionally it just was really, it felt like another job to like people's stuff and to wonder who's this. I just was like, you know what? I just have to be honest about what I can do consistently. And I cannot consistently sit on the toilet for 20 minutes a day and just look at, scroll and think. I don't have time after I get out of this. I don't have time in the morning. I don't have time after. And to be honest, because when I did do stuff like that, it was so draining, and I was so like, oh my God, now I have to call it for, less is more. Cooking more with less. More foods with vitality. You know, I always laugh because somebody wrote me the other day, and she, just on a keto diet, was talking about certain stuff with keto energy. And I was like, yo, if it works for you, that shit is dope. But let me ask you something, real talk. How are things down there? And she was like, oh my God, why would you ask that? And I said, because I heard, I heard, and I know a couple people that were on the keto diet that, contacted me about pH hormonal imbalance. And she was like, yo, I go through it all the time. She's like, especially around my cycle, it is just really pungent. And I said that's a red flag, I think, but just be aware, because she was like, you know what to do? I was like, yeah, you might have to increase, certain bio products down there and some apple cider, and anything that throws your pH off like that, where your body is starting to emit and smell. Some people are allergic to fish, where they have an enzyme that secretes an oil that does not do well when they eat fish. It's very rare, but one in maybe a couple 100,000 people will have it. Same thing with the keto diet. We start to smell and feel like your body is emitting a carnage smell. You might want to pull back and just eat some more greens, and just a whole bushel of broccoli is more protein than a steak. And I don't think that people really get that. So, just to be aware that our diet really is a reflection of how we feel. And yeah, you could be addicted. Some people are like, well, what do you eat that's junk food? Son, I eat, my red hot blues. I have some seaweed snacks up in here. That's not a great example, but I get jalapeno chips, the Kettle brand. I do, these I don't even really love, but I more love cinnamon raisin. That's totally glutinous and thin. And then what else? I always keep a Talenti, whether it be sorbetto, a mango, a raspberry. I have pumpkin seeds. I don't do a whole lot. I make more stuff. Like I'll make a banana bread, a zucchini bread once a week. I'll do little vegan cookies, little vegan whatevers, because I'm more like snacks. But I don't buy a whole bunch of store-bought. I literally go on the outside of the store. I kick the inside for some condiments, some Dijon mustard, some capers, black olives. Keep vegetables and fruits all day. 2-3 nectarines a day. 2 apples a day. Lots of celery, some almond butter, some peanut butter. I'm constantly with the snacks. So I'm always eating snacks, and then just to have this in the oven, you want 25 minutes. The sweet potatoes are gonna take like an hour tonight, but that's fine. My lasagna, we started this like what, an hour ago? And that's the next thing. I don't care how long, I'm not editing, I don't care about monetization and funds. I wanted to fulfill my life with things that I love, so I'm not doing this type of stuff and expecting a certain return, so that when you don't get it, you're not energetically like, wow, I've done 50 videos and my following is the same. Well, I ain't showing my titties, and these girls that work out on videos, they got all of this and I'm just, that's not really where my energy is. So, it's gonna only go to a certain cap unless you're willing to, you know what I'm saying, or you just look a certain way. And I'm not that look that I think a lot of people are very attracted to. Long, you know what I'm saying. I keep it real. I don't ever get DMs, and you shouldn't. When you are exuding a certain energy of like, yo, I'm chilling, I'm good. What the fuck do niggas need to be in your? People like feeling needed. They like feeling like they're completing a puzzle piece in your life, something that's missing. And I say that to, I've never been like, wow, something's wrong with me, guys, don't holler. No, when I'm out in the street, cars sometimes crash, dudes are staring. They don't think, I don't get men that give me their numbers, that come up and talk to me. Everything is like this, and I'm very kiki, friendly, mad open, but there's an energy, I think, that people are like, I don't really, it's like double Dutch. Niggas be like, no, I'm good. And that's, think of what you attract and who you are, that those are blessings. That's a blessing in disguise. You're not gonna have your time wasted, your heart, your energy. Somebody's not gonna, I just wanna take you. Son, I know the story already. And it's all good. I'm glad to be where I'm at in it. And it took a while to really cement myself there and be like, yo, people ask that all the time, and I don't think that women need to share similar experiences in order to be friends. But I do think that there's a trust system that's established when you do exchange certain experiences that are similar. And unfortunately, in this society, a lot of experiences that bring females together take place, or they feel as though they do, through sharing what happens with dating or guys or men. And then if it's not that, it's very either trauma-based or very, work-based. When we're such a rotund people, meaning there's so much about us that I don't think is really explored and shared, because certain groups and certain cliques that are popularity are there because they're popular. People stare at them, they think that they're fun, they think that they're popping. And, I'm not somebody that always likes huge group events because they're not always great for me. But it doesn't mean that I can't go to a concert or I can't thing. I just like one-on-one energy. I think that it's a lot more authentic, or at least for groups of people to be around where, someone on the outskirts doesn't feel left out. And that goes to say, just the other day, I'm grateful to get offered to speak on certain panels and stuff. And, I haven't done stuff in so long publicly that I laugh, because I don't know if people are aware of this, but I've noticed certain groups and certain energies, and I'm just, I'm the only woman that's kind of my color. It's not to say that the women that I would be sharing the panel with aren't black women, but black women that might have a Caucasian parent, or a black woman that, is half Caucasian, or I won't even say Latina, because I don't really meet a lot of Latinas on that scene like that, but, just straight mulatto women are right there at the top. They're the spokespersons for all black women, and there are patterns of behavior that I've noticed, and I'm not anti it at all. I just am aware, like, okay, no doubt, if we're all sisters and we're all doing this, I'm the only girl that's my color on the panel? And I only say this to say, sometimes when you get thrown into situations like that, it's for me to take responsibility and saying, well, if there's 8 women, I can't be the only sister that's my color brown. There's gotta be 2 or 3. There's gotta be 1, 2, or 3 of us if there's 8. Let's say if there's 10, I can't be the only sister. And I don't think women care about stuff like that, to be aware that they might fill that space. So no hate, no nothing, but shout outs to women of all diaspora. But are you aware that the women that you might be working with are all the same color and hair texture and all of this? And it's just something to be aware of. Is that by happenstance? It's interesting that all the major metaphysicians, except maybe 1 or 2, and those 1 or 2 black women always, and I could name, but I would ne'er, but they're with white men, they're with Caucasian men. And that's something, when you're a woman my color, and then, it's all some mulattoes, and then it's like going to a Rastafari party, or a party with mad Rasta men, and I meet the Rasta woman, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to meet my husband. And I'm like, sis, you at a Rasta party, you ain't meeting your husband here. Your husband, I'm like them, all them Rasta men in Miami, very few men that just will talk to sisters. You go to a Rasta party out here, or culture, all of that, all you see is white women, Caucasian women, mulattress women with black men. And then those black men are like, they kind of a little step back, because they're like, yo, I love myself, and, Rasta and all of this. But then their women are either straight Caucasian or straight mulatto. And I don't know if it's a fad. Like, is this a thing where all brothers now are just with Caucasian? And I only say it because when women are in situations like that, sometimes I gotta pull a sister aside and be like, yo, these ain't your men. Like, stop feeling away and feeling like your friend is getting more light. Like, you in a Rasta party. Like, these ain't your dudes. Don't look for guys that aren't looking for you. Don't be attracted to men that are not attracted to what you physically come off like or look like. And you can be, but literally don't. If you see a guy and all he happens to be with, even though he's mad black, he's black, 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 all he happens to be with is a Caucasian woman or a woman that's a mulatto, there's a pattern there. Just like if you just see a nigga, you know what I'm saying? Just know what role you occupy. And we should be able to occupy all roles. But when you're this color, you're either, you know, a little salty, you're angry, and then it's like, nah, when you're really not, but you just peep a little bit of game, it's for you to keep that to self and just be honest about what you want to entertain in your personal cipher. So I'd be like, word, can I invite a friend on the panel that I know is dope? Because I just want for women that are in the audience not to look at this and go, wow, all of them women are mulatto and kind of white, but then they're all with black men, but then the black girls is with white men. They just all with Caucasians. Like, we're still a patterned and a visual people. And I'm very visually aware of stuff, but you know, I like integration and all of that, but to what degree are we gonna start to be aware that there might be something behind the scenes that's just, you know, co-signing certain phenotypes to be the voice box of people that are our color. Yes, you're a black woman, but you might not have certain experience or have this experience because we're, you know, it's a different shade. And trust me, you hope, I don't know, this is hilarious, but you might meet my sister in a couple weeks. And that's a crazy story. I haven't seen her in 15 years. Then maybe like 12 years now, because I did see her when Amor was like 2. No, so what's that? 9 years. Yeah, she saw Amor when he was 2. But before that, before Amor was born, I didn't see my sister for a good 12, 15 years. So that's to say she's, you know, ebony ivory. She's a much lighter hue, redder, all of that. But we weren't raised, or I didn't grow up in a home that was like, you're dark skin and you're light skin. And this, nah, we didn't, that's not how it works. But society is something different. And I think my mom being aware of that, she just really was like, oh, brown is in. You know, she celebrated a lot of my family, so I didn't grow up feeling like I wasn't as pretty and I wasn't as cool because my sister was red bone and I was not. All of these red bone, we didn't really talk like that. So now that we're older, you know, I sometimes laugh because I'd be like, yo, Mika, you so light skinned, meaning you so, she's like, oh, I'm lazy. Nah, you just, certain things just be happening because you're a light-skinned woman. But then at the next flip, she'll be like, yo, real talk, this, that, and the third doesn't happen because, so I think that that kind of conversation is so vital and important because it's real. We can learn from it. And it creates a compassion and a love that doesn't allow this separation. But light-skinned women or women that are mulatto or are, you know, consider themselves not black or whatever, you know, they, whatever you call yourself, you also have to be aware that you occupy a certain phenotype and a certain visual whatever, and just to put other, like, yo, light-skinned sisters in our light-skin meeting, do you realize that we're the only 9 light-skinned sisters here? Like, no doubt, we're all black and we got our froze and we doing our thug dizzle, but are we keeping it? Is this, I mean, I have black friends at home, but can they sit? You understand? And that's why, shout outs to all of those that don't let that be an issue and will say, yo, real talk, this is a great essence panel, but this is 9 exoticals, all of them are mulatto, and the 2 black women that happen to sit on the panel have white men in the audiences and have mulatto children. It's not a diss, it's just to say that's something that's a pattern and that's something to be aware of because is that like the underwriting in the contract? Like, by the way, if you're paper background, half Caucasian, like, just let me know because I'll be like, yo, they go hate because I'm coming here with somebody browner and my brown son and they're gonna be like, oh, this fucking culture. You understand? And that's not cool. We gotta be aware so that we can create the balance and find these pockets of healing and integration and all this beautifulness, but also be able to expand and say, wow, this is an experience of someone who went through this, that, and the third. And girls in the audience can go, and she happens to be my color. It's just a reflection. It's just a nice little chocolate chip in the Matrix. Sometimes I watch films and movies and I'll be like, wow, this whole movie, there's one black person in the city, like, you know, or there's one black person at the table, but they all white friends. We got to do better than that, or we don't. It's just to be aware of what you are seeing and how we teach and raise our children. You know, we have to express and talk to them about why these things are taking place. We would love to live in a colorless society, but color still dictates Hollywood and certain things that dictate what we visually see every day, how we are, you know, what our kids watch when they come home from school, YouTube channels, all of this, it still is present. So I think that that honest conversation needs to be had, and we need to be reminded that, hey, we still see color, and even if you don't, your mom or your dad might be teaching you to. So there's only like a little window where I can meet a kid and I could totally tell they haven't been taught about color or race, and it's very small. But then, you know, and it happens especially out here. When you go to New York, it's totally different. It's a little different, but you do see it when you get older. You're like, wow, I have mad white friends and mad Chinese friends, and Stuyvesant is great, and LaGuardia is great, and I know lesbians and homosexuals, and all of it's great. But there is still certain little hierarchy and cliques and groups that we all were like, yo, that's a skater group, that's a group that's so-and-so, that's, you know, like the science. We still were aware of stuff. So it's not like, oh my God, no, we can't be aware of this. We have to all be the same. Then it's what are the defining and distinctive features and things that create this beautiful diaspora. We don't want that to be washed away or to just be, you know, neutralized and come on, man. So I say, have a great night, you guys. I'm gonna definitely be back. You see, this gift clip. My goodness, girl, you can talk. Yeah, I can, because I remember what people asked me, and I wanted to just really be grateful and say thank you for all that, you know what I'm saying, for all that y'all hold me up and support and say, wow, we still watch this. And it means a lot to me, because I'm like, look, if I can't see certain growth and certain stuff and what we say be manifest in our reality, then I have to take steps back, no matter the cost, no matter what I lose, no matter no matter what. This is the journey that I have to be on, because in order for it to be real, in order for me to stay on this vibration, I have to be honest about when I do not feel or when I do not see certain things matriculate after years. And I'm not talking like, you know, you give everything time. 5 years, you can have difficulty. 7 years, you might be in whatever. But when you reach like your 15th year and you're like, wait a minute, son, why is this groundhog? Like, nah, I can't. And it can't be like less. So I just learned so much and saw so much truth in people and just intent and where people are and how you charge and inspire people, but sometimes are left out the story and all these things. So you got to find that space of just beauty and zenness and wanting to wake up and do you and not having to be and feel fulfilled outside of these social media realms, so that it's not like you gotta be on in order to be on. Like, nah, it's total illusion. Sometimes you need to, you know? So thank you guys for listening. I will definitely be back probably the day after tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I'm gonna make some more stuff, show you guys some more snazz and jazz. And I will, matter of fact, let me just show this to you now so that I don't have to even think. But the cauliflower is basically done. Oh, it's nice too. It's just roasting nice. I'll take a picture of it and show it. But come on, I'm gonna leave it inside because it's thingy. And it's just white and it's getting, you hear that? You see how it's getting a little darker and roasted? Like 10 more minutes. So that's for that. You saw that. And then the sweet potatoes, they're gonna take a while. I'll come back and show you how they look when they're thin. But thank you guys. Cooking more with less. I love you to pieces. And I will see you soon. Have a good one. Cordova Organics, CORDOBAORGANICS.com. If you like this video, I know people say please subscribe. Please share it with your friends and loved ones. And even if you just watch and you're like, you know what? just let me hit subscribe, because I'm going to start doing more, and it just means a lot to me. Maybe people that watched me years ago that didn't subscribe will, be able to show a little love and subscribe now. So even if not, thank you anyway for watching, and have a great night. Bye.